Today we're talking real talk about your relationship and dating. So for the next half hour, keep your ears peeled and your heart open as I discuss this topic with relationship expert, author, and life coach, D. Yvonne Young. Welcome to the show. Well, I understand you wrote a book, Break Up, Don't Break Down. Why did you write this book?
I wrote that book because I got so many questions from fans, clients, even organizations that would ask me to do lectures on relationships and love, and there's such a disconnect. In America, we live in a society where we drive through McDonald's and we get what we want instantaneously. And that doesn't, there's not a boundary between that desire with what we want in our personal lives. So over and over again, I would have someone in front of me asking the question, you know, why me? Why did this relationship fly south? Why didn't it work? As a result, I did a little homework. In doing that homework, I found there was nothing out there. There were a lot of books that would say, make you feel better, or name it and claim it. A lot of spiritual stuff, but there was nothing that said, this is how you find an authentic, lasting relationship. This is how you get over being broken and disparaged. And more than anything else, most relationships don't end because someone didn't have an attractive mate or the sex wasn't good. Many of them end because they just simply should not have ever begun. And the other ones are because someone is going into a relationship looking for someone else to complete them. So Break Up, Don't Break Down addressed all of those issues that ranged the gambit from how to end a dysfunctional relationship, the toxic effects of a breakup on children, how to find real and authentic love, and how to position yourself to move forward and get on with your life.
Okay, well, I'm just going to get right down to it, you know, real talk about relationships and dating. What is the most common question you get asked regarding relationships?
Whoa, that's a pretty good one. The most common question that I get is, are there any good men or good women out there, and how do I meet them?
Really?
So, yeah, that's probably number one. The second one typically has nothing to do with it. Someone will ask me, well, Mr. Young, are you single? And I'll say, well, I'm not married. You know, there's someone special, but I'm not married yet. And what we have to do is realize that relationships require focus. They require commitment. They require you positioning yourself in such a way that you can not only be to someone else what you want them to be, what they want you to be for them, but more than anything else, you have to be postured and positioned to make yourself happy, because if you don't want to be alone with you, why would someone else want to be?
Well, I have a question. The thing about relationships is they are so complicated because you're dealing with two opposite sexes and trying to bring, you know, one on one common ground. So what is the most complaint you heard about from women that annoy them about men?
Oh man, that's a laundry list.
Can you name about three?
Yeah, I can. Well, let's go here with it. First, there is no disparity as it relates to gender, because the same things that women complain about with men likewise complain about with women. But in a superficial, very general statement, I would say that many women feel, and I'm not going to say all women, but there are women out there that feel that some men just aren't emotionally available. The next thing is that men don't want to commit. And probably beyond those two would be that they don't communicate well.
So why is it that men don't want to be emotionally available?
Well, the first reason for that is you can only do what you know to do. If you haven't been taught how to open up to someone, or moreover, let's say that you're dealing with a man that's seasoned or of a certain age, and by that I mean a man typically over 35 years old. If he has been in a serious relationship, if he's been married or engaged, there was an investment on his part financially, and if there are children available, Men feel that the society, Western culture especially, has a punishment called child support, another one called alimony. So with those things taking place, men are reluctant to go and take on an additional responsibility because they feel if this thing doesn't work out, I'm going to find myself before a judge or having a court order debit my account and my emotional account as well as my financial accounts. And with that said, that is one huge reason why men are reluctant, especially men that have something to lose, are reluctant to pursue a relationship quickly.
So what about being emotionally unavailable, though?
Well, that's part of it. You're not...
I mean, because women are pretty much sensitive, and when it comes to communication, women pretty much communicate to men the way they communicate to their girlfriends and vice versa. So when the communication breaks down, it's kind of like women feel like that men are not emotionally available.
When you know better, you do better.
Okay.
Often people operate from their experience. Obviously, training would take someone like me. If I get in a counseling or a coaching session with a couple, I teach them this is the technique of listening, because listening is not something you do, it's a learned skill. Most people don't listen, they wait to talk. And there is a huge difference between those two things. The other thing is that as relationships develop, people change. So in the dating phase, someone that was open and very quick to give you the attention that you needed physically, mentally, emotionally, cognitively, after a while they get comfortable and they relax because they figure I don't have to work that hard anymore.
Right.
And then there is a difference in communication where women are much more verbal in communication. Men tend to be more demonstrative. So the things that are not said are what you need to pay attention to more so than what's said. And with that, look at someone's body language. The pitch, the tone, the inflection in their voice. An example of this would be if I say to you, good morning, and you say,
good morning.
You're telling me a lot. You're telling me, okay, this isn't really bad. Now, watch this. Say it like you're upset with me. Good morning.
Good morning.
You see that? You gave me cues. If I'm paying attention to you, it allows me to reposition not only my response to you that morning, but my demeanor, my gestures, whether or not I invade your space. And sometimes a hug will do, other times silence is going to be your best bet.
Okay. Well, some of the things that annoy men about women is that she wants a commitment too soon.
Yes, that's not wise. Good relationships begin as friendships. Don't jump, and just because someone told you your hair looked good or you look nice in your clothes, assume that that's your next husband. People come in your life for a reason or a season or a lesson, and often women will pursue what they have projected on someone. So the rule for that is this. As you meet people, give yourself time to first get acquainted. Don't even call it dating, just making an acquaintance. And by that, I'm suggesting that you go out on a couple of dates to a place where the ambiance, such as a restaurant or a nightclub, is at a minimal. So places like a Starbucks, a museum, to the park, where the focus can really be on the person that you're with, where you sit and you talk and I'm not going to say interrogate, but ask some questions that really matter, like, well, what's important to you in life? How do you feel about parenting? Where did you grow up? What was your family life like when you were a child? And I'm not saying hit somebody with all of that stuff, because that's like having an avalanche fall on you.
Right.
Nonetheless, take the time and season and sparsity. Allow those things to become constituent in your dialogue, because as you do, just something as simple as, well, where did you grow up? Where are you from? Will give you a great deal of someone's orientation toward issues, toward belief systems, asking the things that they value, and will tell you a lot about the potential for conflict. And don't ignore the red flags. If you see that in the inception or the beginning of getting to know someone, you find that there's a serious disconnect. You don't share the same belief systems. Your view on parenting is very different.
Okay.
I'm not going to say that makes the other person a bad person, but I can say it may be a real indicator that that relationship could have some areas of confrontation, compromise, or, you know, could be an indication that failure could be imminent if you don't get these areas addressed.
Okay, well, I want to go back to when you say to ask questions and to be aware of the red flags. Now, when you're out on a date, people are usually on the best behavior. They're usually, you know, telling you what you want to hear and saying all the right things for all the right reasons. So, how do you know the difference?
Rule number one, be authentic. The most attractive quality that you possess is to be the real you when you deal with someone. We meet representatives, meaning that mask, and we will come out, and there's a old term back in the Greek language, persona, and persona in Greek means mask. You must take the mask off. You know, as when Greek actors would put this mask on, what they did was they would live up to what the mask represented. So if it was someone that was supposed to be a knight in shining armor or a damsel in distress, they act out what correlates with that mask. What I tell clients, or I speak of in lectures, is don't wear your mask. One, it's going to get hot under there.
Okay.
Two, you can't sleep with it on, meaning that sooner or later, that mask is going to come off and the real you is going to come out. If this person has become smitten or enamored with a caricature, or you, while you're winning an Oscar by being the best supporting actor or actress, the disappointment that you and that other person is going to feel is going to be substantial. And at best, you cannot recover from that, because people like authentic people. And if you want to get into a meaningful, lasting relationship, allow someone to love you for whom you are not, just as much as you want them to love you for whom you are.
And on that note, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
It's easy to say we need to eat healthy and exercise more. It's just as easy to say we'll start tomorrow. But our kids are running out of time. They're the first generation that might not live as long as their parents because of the health risks associated with being overweight. What can we do to help? Be the example they need. Make healthy choices and help them do the same. Let's move to raise a healthier generation of kids.
Okay, we're back, and we're still talking about relationships with D. Yvonne Young. Now, I want to ask you, what is the difference between lust and love?
That is a good question. The first thing is, love is a condition. It's a state of being. Lust is a mindset. It's an emotion. Now, these things look very similar, very, very similar, in that love has eros. You know, there are types of love. There's agape, there's eros, there's strange, there's pragmatic.
Philos.
And what happens with us is we explore these love traditions in Western culture. We break down to, you know, probably 5 or 6 different terms. However, if we look in Eastern culture, Hindu culture, there's over 30-something terms for love. You know, the love of mother and father, the love of brother and sister, the love of a son. You know, so all of these things are constructs and perceptions. The issue is perception is reality for most people. Now, lust is a very fleeting and superficial thing. As a matter of fact,
I agree.
Today I had a lady in Canada wrote me a letter, and she said, "Mr. Young, is it okay for me to have a boy toy?" And that's the same thing as in America, we use the term booty call. You know, we've even made movies about this
About
stuff,
the
right?
booty call.
About the booty call. And at the end of the day, no, unless you are a beast or you have an absence of consciousness, you cannot continue to experience bliss or intimacy with someone without having it have some effect on you. Now, even sex workers, people that get paid just to have sex with other people, they connect with their clients. Believe it or not, they develop an affinity, they develop a passion, they develop friendship, and so there's no way that you can just have a sexual relationship with someone and not have that have lasting effects, not only on you, but on your perceptions of yourself as well as of other people, and moreover on relationships.
Isn't that what makes it so hard on women who have sex outside of marriage and they get attached with that person through sexual intercourse and develop some type of intimate attachment, and so they want to marry that person?
Well, I'm going to say this. Sex in a committed, loving relationship is in my opinion. I'm not going to, because if they send letters, send them to Cindy's show. You send them to her show, America. But the truth being is that intimacy is part of a relationship. And break the word down, intimacy. So the first thing is allow someone to envision you and see you for what you really are and what you are meant to be, not whom you've become or not whom you say you are.
So how do you get over a previous lover? I've heard that the best way to get over a previous lover is to find another lover.
Yes, if you want to jump up and recreate a mess, you will find yourself in a hot mess if you use that strategy.
A hot mess, okay.
Yeah.
So what strategy should you use when you're
First,
trying to
order
get
that
over
book.
someone?
No.
He said order. He
Yeah,
said
order breakup, don't break down. That will help you
Break
not
that
have any problem. But on a serious note, the first thing is take responsibility for your contribution and and why that last relationship or those relationships haven't worked.
So you think that? So you're saying that it could be both parties?
It's always both
Anytime
parties.
there's a failure, both parties are at fault?
It's always both parties. Don't go blaming someone else for things that you have a contribution for. And let me explain that. One side of that argument is to look back at the situation and what signals did you ignore that this person said, well, and I'm going to give an example. And this person says, well, you didn't listen to me, or you didn't pay attention to me.
And who's saying that? Who's saying that? Usually the woman is
Yes.
that's the complaint of the female.
Well, women are more verbal, men are more demonstrative. So
although they're feeling the same way.
Yeah,
really?
and they're feeling the same way because what will happen?
What isn't that a breakdown in communication? Shouldn't
Of
men
course.
also communicate that?
Well, both genders need to communicate because what we do, especially in Western culture, is we hide behind our gender. We love to ignore duality, meaning masculine and feminine, yin and yang type things. Life is more complex than that. And if we're going to fix relationship problems and fix relationship issues, the first thing is to take responsibility individually for a collective problem. Second thing is, after you examine your contribution to this problem, ask yourself, if I had done this or that differently, what could have changed? And go and, if possible, revisit that conversation with the ex-significant other. Not so much that you want to resurrect or do an autopsy over something that's dead, but what you do want to do is make sure that you learn from your past mistakes so you don't take them into your future.
Okay. How do you prepare yourself before getting back into a relationship?
That is the best question you've asked me yet. Take notes on this. You have to first become one with yourself before you can ever become one with someone else. And here's the first step in doing that. Write down over, if you're under 30 years old, what have the last 3 significant events been in your life? Was it a death of someone? Was it a major letdown? Did you succeed at something? Or was there something that you were attempting to succeed at and you failed? For women, this could be everything from childbirth to a divorce. For men, it could be graduating from college and getting that job, or not being able to complete your education, or being discharged from the military. But stop and look at how have these things affected you. Second thing is, what is the plan for the next 30 days, the next 6 months and the next 3 years of your life? And what steps have you taken toward realizing those things or making them come to pass? And the other part is, what are your must-haves and can't-stands? What is it about you that you know, barring anything, you are not going to change? And likewise, know what it is that you really need from someone else that you have to have, and what things are you not willing to tolerate. By getting a map, so to speak, of yourself, learning that at this quadrant of you lies this, in the southern hemisphere lies that. You have to know your topography. You have to know your mental and your emotional landscape. If you don't, it's the equivalent, and all of us that have a GPS has done this. You will start driving somewhere, and they're working on the street. Your GPS doesn't know they're working on the street, and you attempt to turn left. However, it's blocked. Now you can't. And the beauty of most of these devices is it has a little button or a little caption where it says update from here, and it will recalibrate where you need to go. We need to hit the emotional and the mental update from here button on ourselves.
How do we do that?
By looking at the circumstances and realizing that we change over time. The human fallacy is that we don't think that we do, because we're always in our own company. So there's no and I'm going to use this for men and women. Have you ever gone to your closet, pulled out something you wanted to wear and got ready to put it on, and it was either too tight or too loose?
Yes.
That means that your self-view never would have changed, because you would not go in the closet and grab something that you know does not fit you. But the problem is your view of self hasn't shifted, where in reality, yes, you have changed. So what I'm suggesting is that you have the courage to revisit where you are in your life. Realize that not everything is going the way it used to go. And this happens in relationships too, that people that have been together 7 years have different paradigm shifts. Now the kids they have empty nest syndrome, or they just had a baby where their parents were independent. Now mother's going to probably move in, and you have to spend more time. And then the biggest one is sickness or the loss of a job. So when you have an economic transformation that you didn't want to happen, an economic change where somebody is not making what they were making, or because of a health issue they can't work as much as they used to work, you have to have a strategy in mind. And I call that strategy a fire drill. You know, in a building, we practice fire drills to make sure that we remain safe when we have problems in our lives. The same thing needs to be applied in a relationship. Have an exit strategy, and I'm not saying exiting from the relationship, but from certain sets of circumstances.
Right, because when you try to exit from, it's not as easy to just exit. When you're in a bad relationship, it's not always easy to just say, okay, adios, I'm gone, because you've built your family, you have your kids, you have your house, you've built a life together. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
It's easy to say we need to eat healthy and exercise more. It's just as easy to say we'll start tomorrow. But our kids are running out of time. They're the first generation that might not live as long as their parents because of the health risks associated with being overweight. What can we do to help? Be the example they need. Make healthy choices and help them do the same. Let's move to raise a healthier generation of kids.
Okay, welcome back, and I'm still talking about relationships with D. Yvonne Young. I have one question for you.
Sure.
Okay. How does a woman remain respectable in the dating game, but at the same time acknowledge her need for intimacy?
That is really good. One, just be you. There is...
Well, she's a woman.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say this. If we were to apply chauvinistic views, I don't think many of your fans, I know certainly not any of mine, would be receptive to being treated in a condescending way.
Right. Women
are human beings.
Exactly.
And you are just as entitled to express that humanity, whatever your gender is. If you're a male or a female, You probably want someone to care about you. You want to have fun. You would like to have someone to go to the movies and dinner with. And if you are of age, and by that I mean you are very grown, and not a spring chicken.
You mean
more than
good
likely,
and grown?
Yeah, good and, that's a good one, good and grown. You more than likely are not a virgin. So what I suggest is be responsible. Realize that whatever you do has consequences, and if you're going to engage someone romantically, sexually, or intimately, just weigh out the cost before you do that. What you fail to consider can hurt you. So at the end of the day, the most important thing that you do is think before you act, look before you leap, and consider the consequences of your actions, because it's not always a nightmare on Elm Street. However, you can end up daydreaming and hitting a wall if you're not careful.
I have one more question. I said that was the last one. I got one more.
Okay.
What are the building blocks if you want to build a good relationship?
That's a good one. The first thing is be honest about yourself. Be honest about whom and what you are. Second, acknowledge your needs. Know that nothing is just going to come to you, so communicate not only where you are headed, but let people know where you've been. And more than anything else, be receptive to a miracle taking place in your life that you didn't create. Allow time and allow, if you have spiritual beliefs, allow those things to have their way with you, because at the end of the day, there are many things that are right in your midst, right in your path. You know, the definition for success is preparation meeting opportunity with excellent timing. However,
Absolutely.
awareness is what brings all of that together. So just be aware of whom you are, where you are, and what you're doing. And if you do that, you will find that something that you thought you had to go out and look for may be right in front of you.
Amen to that. Well, you heard it from D. Yvonne Young, author of Break Up, Don't Break Down. And on that note, thank you for watching the Cindy Davis Show. God bless. And thank you.
Thank you
for being on the show.
I enjoyed it.